Imagine this moment when you have installed a new server, for example FreePBX. You pre-configured it, waiting for it to start while drinking your coffee. You see that the start of the firewall is delayed by 5 minutes, but it doesn't bother you. Apparently, it was supposed to be like this. But then suddenly, someone's trying to break in. What do? Are you waiting for the situation to develop? Or maybe you hope it will dissolve? Or maybe you're turning off the service, or maybe the whole server. You do whatever it takes to avoid this huge bill for telecom services. That's where fail2ban comes in handy. It can help by throwing the attacker in jail. But what is fail2ban anyway? Fail2ban is a popular IPS. It's intrusion prevention software that monitors log files for suspicious activities and then blocks the IP address of attackers who attempt to brute force their way into your system or maybe try to perform some unusual activities. In this video, I will show you how to install and configure fail2ban on your Asterisk server to protect it from unauthorized access attempts. But fail2ban is not just for Asterisk services. So we'll also cover how to configure it for another important service, SSH. And SSH is a secure remote access protocol that allows you to log into your server from a remote location. However, SSH is also a common target for attackers who try to guess your username and password combinations or exploit vulnerabilities in the protocol. That's why if you're running Asterisk server or any other servers that uses SSH, don't miss this video. I will guide you through the process of installing and configuring fail2ban step by step so you can improve your server security. And by the way, FreePBX has fail2ban built in, so after seconds I was banned from my system. First of all, I just want to say that everything that we'll do here can also be found on our website hotkey404.com, so if you haven't seen it yet, just follow the link in the description. But for now, just to check if our Asterisk is ready to use fail2ban, let's take a look at our modules. So if you want to make sure that you have security lock enabled, go to etc**modules.conf. And if you have already set autoload to yes, then you don't have to do anything. But if you have autoload set to no, you might want to check if you have this module enabled. As you see, I have also both BJCP and SIP channels enabled. But scrolling down into resources section, because I like to have it, a bit organized, at the end of it, we'll add one more entry, load equals res underscore security underscore log.so. And going to our Asterisk console with asterisk hyphen R and some V's, we will load this module with module load res security log so. So now you have our security event logging enabled. Now let's check our logger settings with logger show channels. And as you see, as of now, we are logging or just viewing in a console notice, warning, error, and verbose. So to fix that, we need to actually store some logs in a files. To do that, let's exit the console and let's go to etc**logger.conf. And here first, in the general section, we will add our default time format with date format equals, and then %f, %t, and this is standard ISO 8601 date format. And then in the log file section, you see that we have our default channel, which is console channel. But below we have messages, full, and security. And what we need for fail2ban is security. Also, I think it's a good practice to have our messages, which is notice, warning, and error logs in the separate file, but also security logs in security file. So let's uncomment this or write it down if you have an empty file, then save and exit. And then if we go back to our Asterisk and execute logger reload, we should have our channels ready. So once again, let's execute logger show channels, and you'll see two additional file channels, which is varlog asterisk security and varlog messages. So those two will store all our security logs. So let's check if this actually works. To do that, I'll open a separate SSH session, and here I'll use tail command with tail-f and then varlog asterisk security. So you see we are following this log. And to check if we are capturing events, I will use my soft phone to try to register an extension. And when I register my phone, you'll see that this 1108 extension is reachable, but also we have our security logs with challenge sent, successful authorization, and so on. So you see that it works as it should. But just in case, let's also register not BGC, but a regular, this older chance zip extension, and you'll see that 100 extension is reachable. And we have the same security log here. So it registers all security logs as expected. Now it's time to perform our fail2ban installation. I'm executing all of my commands as root. If you're not root, you can sudo I to switch into root, or just execute sudo before every command. If this is Ubuntu or Debian or something like, execute sudo apt-get install fail2ban. Since we're using CentOS, or you should be able to do this on Red Hat or Rocky or like, just execute sudo yum install fail2ban. Later in this video, I will not execute or add this sudo at the beginning because I'm executing all of that as root already. After installation, let's continue into etc fail2ban, and here our main configuration file is fail2ban.conf. For basic configuration, the only thing that might interest you here is log target, as you see varlog fail2ban.log, but as it says in the header, in most cases you will not modify this file but provide customization in fail2ban.local. We haven't changed anything here, so let's exit and go to our main jail file, which is jail.conf. And once again, it says in a header that you should not modify this file, but provide customizations in jail.local file or separate conf files in jail.d directory. And while it's true that we'll set our jails in separate local files, I encourage you to scroll through this one because you might find some interesting settings here. For example, we have ignore IP, and probably you might be interested in setting this one so that you won't block yourself. Then we have ban time, find time, max retry, so all that here. Also, you'll see that all of the jails are disabled by default, and we have our main filter here. And this filter is connected to our firewall. Then, as you scroll through the file, and yes, it's very, very long, you'll see some basic default configuration for specific jails and services. For example, at the very beginning, we have SSH servers and SSHDs. The first one, we have some dropper, and yeah, I actually haven't seen this one. Then we have HTTPD services, so web services, we have FTP servers, and so on. Finally, we get to miscellaneous, and here we have Asterisk and FreeSwitch. So yes, we have some basic, some default configuration for the jail for all those who are trying to breach our Asterisk service. And we see that by default, it's looking for logs in varlog asterisk messages, but we set our different or additional file in security. So we'll adjust that in a second. For now, instead of modifying our main file, let's create jail.local. And here we'll set some basic configuration for default, asterisk, and SSHD sections.
but we'll feel that in just a second. Before we get to that, let's enable our fail2ban service with systemctl enable fail2ban, systemctl start fail2ban, and you'll see the status of the service with systemctl status fail2ban. And as you see, we have the system loaded, the service loaded and active. However, we have no jails yet, and to check that, execute fail2ban client status, and you see the number of jails is currently 0. Now it's time to create actual jails. We pre-created our jail.local file, so in here we'll go to Asterisk section and we'll add a few parameters. First, we'll set enabled equals true. I think that is obvious. Then port equals 5060, 5061, and 5080 because I'm using 2 UDP for SIP and PJSIP and 5060 for TLS. Then we'll add log path, and instead of varlog asterisk messages, we'll set it to varlog asterisk security because this is the one that we adjusted. Of course, if you're using security output in messages, feel free to stick to the previous setting. We'll adjust this one because I like to have those separated. Then max retry, and we'll set this to 3. So after 3 failed attempts, it will put this attacker into jail. And then the last one, ban time. And you can set it to 3 minutes or 3 hours. We'll stick to 3 minutes because, this is just for testing purposes. After saving the file, we'll execute systemctl reload fail2ban to reload our configuration. And with fail2ban client status, you'll see that we have 1 jail. On the jail list, we'll have asterisk. So with fail2ban client status asterisk, you'll see that we have this 1 jail set up. So it's time to test it. Once again, we'll split our terminal into 2, and on the bottom one, we'll check the second log. Instead of viewing security, we'll open varlog fail2ban.log. And here we will see that we have created new jail called Asterisk with find time of 500 seconds, ban time 3 minutes. So we have this up and running. On the top window, we'll check the console of our Asterisk and make a typo in our username. So we'll add a random number, re-register our account, and you'll see that we are trying to register with the wrong password, and fail2ban.log file shows that we are logging with the wrong username, and after 3 attempts, well, we define that, our IP address is banned. Also, we can check the same setting with PJSIP. So we'll re-register with PJSIP, and we have the same outcome. We see failed register attempts with failed to authenticate, and you see that it is trying to register, but the IP address is already banned. So it kind of works. It shows the IP address is banned, but you might be wondering, why is it still accepting another retry? And this shouldn't happen. So if you fix the username, it registers. And you might be wondering, why is it registering since my IP address should be banned? So we'll go back to that in a second. But before we get to that, let's check the status of our jail with fail2ban client status asterisk. You'll see that we have total failed attempts of 26 registered in our security log, and we have 1 banned IP address, which is my IP address. Before we continue, let's remove our IP address from this jail with fail2ban client set asterisk unban IP and my IP. So we're removing this specific IP address from this specific jail. 1 shows that the command is successful, and with status of our asterisk jail, it no longer shows our IP address on banned list. Okay, but you might be wondering, so our IP address was put into jail, but it still accepts connection. What is wrong? And to explain that, first let's make a brief adjustment in jail.local and extend the time of our ban. And then inside etc fail2ban, and we're here, with ls you see the list of directories. And let's enter action.d directory. And here you see a lot of different files. You see, for example, IP tables, all ports. So if you, for example, using Nano or whatever editor you prefer, if you enter this file, you see that we are actually using IP tables to execute some specific actions to block the IP address within our firewall. To check some other files, let's exit here and go to, for example, multiport. And once again, it uses some different chains to execute start or stop or block the specific IP in the firewall. In the same way, it might use firewall command. So if you're using newer versions of CentOS or some different firewalls or different operating systems, and I think this is one of the most important steps to choose the right firewall. We will use IP tables all ports. So I will show you how to add this one. So what we want to achieve is to actually block all ports whenever someone tries to brute force our way into Asterisk, SSH, or any other service. But since I know that this will work, I will add my IP address to ignore list. So in the default section, we'll add ignore IP and my IP, and then we'll add action. And instead a regular action, we'll specify that we want to use IP table all ports, and then we need to define some chains. So we'll create a chain called asterisk and protocol all. We don't want to specify UDP or TCP, just block everything. To apply those settings, let's execute systemctl reload fail2ban. And yes, we have some errors, so probably have some typo. Yes, so in a section, action section, we are missing S. So yes, all ports. Once again, systemctl reload fail2ban, and now it's working. And if we quickly jump to our split screen SSH sessions, on the top one we have our current firewall settings, which is IP tables, and on the bottom one we have fail2ban. And here we see that we're using IP tables all ports asterisk chain. And if we make once again a typo, instead of blocking us, it will show that we were ignored. So our IP address is currently skipping IP table jail. So however long we try to brute force our way in, we will never be blocked. So if you're doing some testing, it's good to verify that. And even if we ping the IP address, you will see that it still works. But before we continue, let me quickly fix the registration. I don't want the soft phone to constantly ping my server with the wrong username. And before we do some more serious pen testing with Kali Linux, I encourage you to visit voipro.com. And voipro is actually our software that we released to do some more advanced monitoring and reporting of Asterisk servers. So why not take a minute to check it out? It's completely free. And now going to some more serious work. If you haven't used Kali Linux before, let me know in the comment section if you want some more detailed overview of the software. And it's really great to do some pen testing. Of course, I'm not encouraging you to hack into someone else's servers, but to test your own, it's a great tool. To quickly review our configuration, on the top SSH terminal, we have our asterisk running. And on the bottom one, if we enter etc fail2ban jail.local file, so the one that we pre-created, we can see that after 3 failed registration attempts, we will block all ports, so all communication with the blocked IP address. And with IP tables NVL, you can see that we have this F2B, so fail2ban asterisk chain pre-created. So everything's ready, so it's time to do some testing. To monitor what's happening on our fail2ban, we'll use tail-f and then varlog fail2ban.log. And now, using our Kali Linux, we will use sipvicious. And sipvicious is a set of tools that allows you to scan for different vulnerabilities, scan the network, and do some brute force attacks. And once again, I want to stress this out. Try this on your own servers. First, to scan the network, we'll use svmap tool, -v for some verbosity, -p for ports, so we'll scan ports 5060 to 5100, and our network, so 192.168.0.0/24, and after a minute we'll see 2 ports. And you see 2 ports for the same IP address because we are using both SIP and PJ-SIP channels. Immediately our asterisk shows sipvicious request for options, so it's a simple ping, but as you see, our fail2ban already registered one hack attempt from sipvicious. Also, I strongly discourage you from using default configuration, default asterisk configuration, because, for example, if you go to etc asterisk pjsip.conf file, you'll see some default IP extensions. So, for example, if I use the last one, so the last one is 1108, we might try to brute force our way into this extension. First, we'll restore our consoles with asterisk console and our log, fail2ban log. Then open a second terminal session in Kali Linux just to check with a simple ping if we have a communication with the server. And then we'll use svcrack tool to try to crack the password for the extension. So in our previous session, we'll type svcrack -u, then provide extension that we already know, 1108, and you can use this tool to try to find those extensions, but since we already know it, it will be a bit faster. Then -p, port 5060, and IP address 192.168.0.8. If we hit enter, we'll notice 2 things. So immediately we registered a lot of registration attempts in asterisk console, and as you see, they failed to authenticate. But also in the same second, we have a lot of fail2ban filters and an action. An action that is ban 10.42.219, and this is the IP address of our Kali Linux. So it shows that immediately our fail2ban dropped the communication, and also the Kali Linux shows that it has been 10 seconds since we last received a response, so it stopped working because it's pointless, because we lost all the communication. And if we jump to second session, you'll notice that even pings are no longer working. So we expected fail2ban to stop all communication because we enabled an action to use IP tables to stop all ports, and this is exactly what happened. To show you that this communication is really controlled by fail2ban, we'll execute fail2ban client status asterisk, and it shows that we have one banned IP address. And then with fail2ban -client set asterisk, so the specific jail unban IP and 10.42.219, Kali Linux communication is restored. So as you see, fail2ban works really nicely and can provide this extra layer of security. And let's face it, if you have asterisk server, you know what is happening whenever you set up your server, especially on public IP addresses. Finally, I promised to show you how to use fail2ban to secure SSH. And to secure SSH, just go to etc fail2ban jail.local, and in here in SSHD section, we'll set enabled to true, mode equals normal, max retry, let's say 3, and let's provide some ban time. So ban time, let's say 12 hours. And with these settings, let's reload our fail2ban with systemctl reload fail2ban. And fail2ban client status will now show two jails. So we have Asterisk and SSH. Fail2ban client status SSHD will show that we have a filter and actions prepared for SSHD jail. To check if this jail actually works, let's use Kali Linux to try to log in with SSH session into our Asterisk server. So SSH root at 192.168.0.80, and this is the first connection. So we'll add our fingerprint, provide some random passwords a few times. So after just 2 attempts, if we check, we are not yet blocked. We have 2 failed attempts, but after the third one, you'll see that fail2ban client status SSHD will show that we have 3 failed attempts and 1 IP address that is banned. To see if it works and stops all the communication on this specific port, let's try to once again log in, and you see that connection is refused. So it will require some testing because there are a lot of different services on fail2ban, but I hope you'll manage to figure it out.
Okay, so much for fail2ban setup. You might find that there are many more services you would like to secure with this open source software. I'm sure you'll figure it out. And by the way, what do you think about a video that will show you how to use Kali Linux and SipVicious to perform penetration tests on your own system? Let me know in the comment section. So that's it for today. It was Thomas from Hotkey404. Have an amazing day and see you in the next one.